Live from Orlando, Florida, you're now listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Orlando Magic fans. Join us every week for a unique fan perspective on all of the latest Magic news and updates. The show starts now.
Welcome back to another episode of the OZone Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings and part of the Basketball Podcast Network. We're your hosts, Al, myself, Anthony. Today's October 31st, which means it's Halloween. What's up, Al?
What's going on, man? Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, man. We're going to jump right into reviewing these past games, man. So since our last podcast, we had a total of 6 games, and the Magic went 1-5, which I will say is a lot better than our predictions that we had made. Al, what were some of the things that you saw from these past games that really stood out to you?
Stood out to me, I think the play of 2 players in particular definitely stood out to me, especially in the win against the Knicks. Cole Anthony, man, looked like a different player for sure. He took over that game completely, the reason why we won that game. And then, of course, the play overall so far this season of Franz Wagner. I think he has been a revelation for this team. Nobody expected to see the way or really predicted the way that he has played so far for the Orlando Magic. Definitely the bright spot. Even though we've lost a ton of games this past week, he was the one guy to me, along with Cole Anthony, that made it at least watchable, and it has me at least with a positive mindset here going forward.
Yeah, I really like Franz. And that wasn't necessarily the case when we first got our announcement that, we were drafting Franz with the 8th pick in the NBA draft, right? He's completely changed, how people view him as a player, as a prospect. And that's definitely one of the things that we can honestly say about what we've seen so far is that he has been by far the most consistent player on the team. And I think that when you review it, because you and I off air, we were kind of discussing the rookie ladder a little bit. And right now they have Franz Wagner listed number 5 in the NBA draft ladder and have Suggs at 8. So when we review things from Franz Wagner, I mean, this dude is averaging, 13 points a game, about 4 or 5 rebounds a game. So this dude is really all over the place, and he's been really, really consistent. I think that one of the things that we've noticed about him the most is the fact that, it always seems like he just makes the right play. He does minimal errors. And some of the things that you kind of see from him, you realize that this is not the same player that we saw in Summer League. This is not the same player that we even saw in preseason. When they initially announced that Franz Wagner was going to be a starter, I was a little... I don't want to say confused, but I was biased because I really didn't think that he was at that level. Like, they were obviously seeing something that we weren't seeing, and to be able to see that as our bright spots, I think really goes to show you that whatever robotic analytics that the Magic invested in, that was supposed to be the advantage that we had over every other NBA team, that I thought was not a waste of money, but I was kind of like, is it really going to make a difference? Well, it definitely does. And I think that, it's something to be really, really excited about. And then Cole Anthony, man, Cole Anthony's been an animal. He's been a beast. I don't think people were expecting for him to play as well as he's playing, especially this early in the season.
Yeah, man. The funny part is these were 2 guys that I think in Summer League and in preseason kind of were the talk of Magic fans. So guys that just didn't seem like they were in shape or were ready to take on the regular season. Cole Anthony, we heard it throughout the entire summer. We heard the fact that, again, he didn't look like himself. He wasn't shooting the ball well. And yet he's honestly been the best player for the Magic so far. And then when it comes to the rookies, Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner, Wagner was the one that looked like, man, the NBA was too fast for him. It looked like he was just not keeping up with the game. But like you mentioned, amazing stats so far. I know it's only been 7 games. But early on, to be in the top 5 ladder, in the top 5 for the rookie ladder, and then 13.9 points a game is what he's averaging right now, 49% from the field, almost 44% from 3-point range, while taking 7 shots a game from 3-point range. And on top of that, almost 4 rebounds a game, 2 assists, 1 steal, almost a block. It's, again, he's doing it all over the court. It's not only on shooting the ball well and that's it. This guy's doing things on both ends of the floor. And it's shocking to me. He looks completely comfortable out there. I don't know how he does it, what he did to get to this level, but he looks like an NBA player. He looks like he's comfortable with the team. And I'm just, again, I can't wait to see him play with the guys that we haven't played so far, the Chumalkikis, the J.I., Markel, because that would make it even easier for him on the court. So it's impressive, at least that aspect of it to me. And thank God we got something positive to at least look at, because again, we've had some rough losses. And again, our record unfortunately speaks for itself, 1-6 so far.
Yeah, and during our game to Detroit Pistons, this game was yesterday. It was the debut game for Cade Cunningham, and a lot of people were talking like this is going to be the showdown between Cade and Jalen. And the player that stole the show was Franz Wagner. And I just like the fact that this dude is really getting the kudos that he deserves. Mentioned it early in the season before our first game that, you know, Franz Wagner is going to eventually be a fan favorite. And I thought to myself, like, I can see him being a fan favorite. There's a lot of fan favorite players that we've had on the roster that, you know, make an impact but aren't the best player on the team, right? Franz Wagner is playing like one of the best players on the team, and he's a rookie. The way that he's playing right now is how I was expecting for him to play maybe year 2, maybe year 3. He's playing that right now as his rookie season. So I view his rookie season as being his floor, and he's already showing different aspects of his game that really impresses you. Like what doesn't he do well? He plays great defensively. He plays great offensively. He's able to put the ball on the floor. He has a really good shot. He's doing a little bit of everything. And they said that during his draft report, they were saying that he's someone that can really do it all. But to be able to really see that done at a high level was really impressive to me. Because when he had the first game, you know, there were certain games that I saw him do well in preseason. Like there was like maybe one game I was kind of like, okay, I wonder what that's going to look like with like elite players, like a really good team like the Knicks. And then I said the same thing about Miami. Then I said the same thing about the Hornets. And can he be consistent? And it's gotten to the point that, yeah, man, this dude is consistent. He's 6'10" small forward that can do just about everything. He has the NBA body. The dude weighs 220 pounds, and he looks comfortable out there. Like he doesn't look afraid. He doesn't look timid. None of that. He goes in. He contributes. He impacts the game. And I think from a rookie standpoint, he's right now your most impressive rookie that you have on your roster.
Without a doubt, especially when you think about the fact that Jalen Suggs, unfortunately, has had a really, really tough start to his NBA career, primarily shooting the ball. Like the guy, just like Franz Wagner, does the right things. He's in the right places, defensively especially. But unfortunately, on the offensive end, just the shots are not going in. He's had some decent games against Miami, especially, where he shot the ball well. Toronto, breakout game, 21 points. But the reality is, if you're a Magic fan, you got to be honest with yourself. Jalen Suggs has unfortunately been a bit of a letdown on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, the guy shows incredible promise, always in the right place, taking charges, blocking shots. Again, the defensive end is not a problem. On the offensive end, though, especially now that we need guys who score the ball for us with all the injuries we're dealing with, we're all kind of hoping that Jalen Suggs finds a way to just get some easy layups, easy dunks, and kind of get things going for him. But when you talk about the two rookies that we have on our roster right now, without a doubt, Franz Wagner has been the most impressive one. And again, it's only been 7 games. There are a bunch left to go. But so far, he's got the spotlight all over him.
I think that the reason why people view him as a letdown was really the way that he was marketed. People were saying that this is a player that can literally, day one, be your leader of your franchise. He's a culture changer. He's someone that can, you know, impact the game, you know, drop the 15, 20 points a game. He's going to be your alpha dog. He's going to be the one kind of running the show from day one. And it's okay that that's not happening. There's still a learning curve. He hasn't found his shot yet. Imagine him start hitting those shots, because that's really the only thing that's missing. Yeah, he's had some issues with turnovers, but he's a rookie. You expect those things. And I think that, you know, eventually that, you know, we'll start to see those things kind of play out a little bit better. And I think that transition might take a little bit, but I think he's going to be all right. I think that what people shouldn't worry about, they shouldn't worry about Jalen Suggs not being that player, because it will eventually get there. I think people should focus more on the fact that, we're fortunate enough that we have a player like Franz that have really been exceeding our expectations, because people really didn't have expectations for Franz. You weren't, nobody expected what we got. Nobody. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much college film you've watched. I don't care about any of that. Nobody was expecting for Franz to play the way that he's playing. And we've had the conversation off air. Like, what do the Magic do once we start getting players back and we start getting Jonathan Isaac and we get a fully healthy, no minute restriction Chuma Okeke? Like, what do you do with Franz Wagner? And I can't see a world where he isn't our starting small forward permanently. Like, why change that? He's your bright spot. He does everything. You know, he does everything with the ball, without the ball, that you want a player to do, where it doesn't negatively impact your roster, your team, what you're doing on the floor. And I see him as just being our small forward of the future.
Yeah,
and
man.
This is barely any games in, which is crazy.
Yeah, the same way as we saw Chuma last year. As the season went on, we saw Chuma get better and better. So imagine if Franz is playing the way he is right now, the more experience that he gets, the more NBA ready his body gets. I think he's only going to get better from here. But you talked about Jalen Suggs a little bit too. And again, he struggles, right? But if you look at his stats, they're not horrible. Just when you look at points, rebounds, and assists, 12.7 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 4 assists. Okay. What's killing him, like I said earlier, shooting the ball. 30% from the field, 25% from three-point range. So if more of those shots go down, Jalen Suggs can easily be a 16 to 20 points per game per night type of guy. Just with, again, a few more shots going in. Also, he's not getting any calls. Magic fans on Twitter have been talking about this since the season started. I've been a big voice behind this because I feel like this guy is always on the floor and there's no calls. So if he shoots just 2 to 3 more free throws a game, that's 15 points right there every single night, even with the struggle shooting the ball. So again, I can see why the hype was there, but you look at Jalen Green, the guy that we wanted so badly in the draft. He's looking the same way, averaging about 14 points a game, but he's shooting the ball horribly from the field. So this rookies, again, need some seasoning. They need some time. It's going to take a little while. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to happen overnight. They're not going to be, superstars overnight. But the fact that Franz is playing at this high level just tells me we have 2 really good players in this draft.
Yeah, he's already broken the 20-point game barrier against the Raptors. So you see the ability to score. And I think that for those who are criticizing Jalen Suggs, kind of relax, man. The player Jalen Suggs is a alpha type player. He's going to be someone that will end up, meeting everyone's expectations. But I just think that it is going to take a little time. The part that was scary is that, during the Detroit game, we kind of saw him get hurt a little bit. And we didn't know how serious that was going to be. I wasn't expecting for him to come back into the game. So the fact that so far we've managed to get through the amount of games that we have without there being any, I think is something that needs to be applauded for sure. Now, when you take a look at what areas you see that the Magic should be improving, take a look at these past games.
So, one thing that we keep hearing about Twitter, social media so far is fans are not really happy with the rotations of coach mostly. That's the number one thing that jumps at me. And I can see it too. There's some games where Wendell Carter has played 19 minutes, 18 minutes. I'm talking about not being in foul trouble. Just for some reason, he's not playing that many minutes. Now, my response to that is, you got to understand, the season is 10 days old and the Magic have played 7 games. So I just think there's a mentality here for coach where he's saying, I don't want to burn these guys out. I want to make sure that we are controlling their minutes. We're being kind of efficient with the way that we are using them because of things like what happened yesterday. Injuries tend to happen more often when bodies are worn out. So I think it's a mix of 2 things. I think he's learning on the fly. He's a rookie coach, but also you got to understand our schedule is brutal. And not only for this past week, it's going to get tougher the next couple of weeks here. So you got to understand it. You got to find a way to balance things out, especially when you play 7 games in 10 nights. I think that's the reason behind it. And also another thing for me personally, the turnovers and the lack of rebounding. Those are things that we have to fix if we want to be competitive, because we don't have the wiggle room to turn the ball over and still hope to win games. We just don't. So we got to be smarter about that. We got to get better. And I think it's going to help once Markel comes back or once Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs learn to control the ball better. But right now it's horrible, man. Especially the game against Charlotte. We had that game and we turned the ball over. I think it was like 9 times in the fourth quarter, including when the game was right on the line within the last 4 minutes. You can't do that.
Yeah, turnovers have been extremely rough, and Coach Mose has been criticized so far for his rotations. I mean, you said it. He's a rookie coach. He still has to figure it out. We were taking a look at the minutes that were played. And, you had mentioned that Wendell Carter only played 16 minutes yesterday, and I kind of view it as it's the second game of a back-to-back, and Wendell Carter is known for having challenges with injuries. So I kind of see that aspect. But even in yesterday's game, Iggy played about 7 minutes. And then the part that I didn't like is, the Magic were down by, what was it, maybe 13, 14 points around there with 2 minutes left on the clock. And it seemed with about 3 minutes left on the clock. And it seemed at that point that, most kind of gave up. He took out a couple of the starters and put in Iggy and the other two-way player. What was his name? Mulder, your guy from Golden State.
Yep.
Yeah. And even though that, they played really well and the Magic started rallying back up a little bit, I didn't expect for us to be able to clear out the bench like that. Like I was a little disappointed because I felt like there still could be a fight. The Magic are known historically to kind of give up, early in the fourth quarter, a lot of points and kind of fall in a hole, but we somehow always manage to fight back in. And I wish I would have seen a little bit more of, from Coach Mose, like put Wendell Carter back in, like keep your guys in there. That way we kind of have a chance to really rally back. We talk about developing. This is a perfect time for them to develop, as much as you do want to develop your two ways. We got priorities, man. I don't want to develop Iggy. I don't want to develop Mode. I don't want to develop those players when we still have to develop your Suggs, your Franz, your RJs. Like, get them in the game and fight them through. And if they're not playing well, then they should be in the game anyways to kind of still work on their game. And if they're getting their ass beat, well, allow them to feel that so that they don't want to get their ass beat anymore. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but I think it goes back to the same thing, though. I think the game was kind of on the line, but again, second game of back-to-back, I think he was just like, all right, let me just try something different, because the team that was playing before, the starters that were playing, they were getting killed by Detroit. So I don't know if it was a response to that and saying, hey, okay, you don't want to play, you're too tired, I'm going to bench you. Because surprisingly, though, Cole Anthony stayed in the game. He actually finished the game. So I don't know if that was the mindset, like, hey, like, you guys are not getting it done, go sit on the bench, you guys go and show me something. And actually the G Leaguers and the two-way contracts, they played well. They actually cut the lead down, I think, to 8 at one point, and then they just kind of lost it at the end there. So I don't know. I think Mose is trying different things, but realize this too, man. Like, it is rough right now. The injuries, players are coming back. Like Gary Harris came back, Chuma came back last night, but this guy's not 100% just yet. So the bodies that we have, it's like 8 healthy bodies. And then 2 G Leaguers and Mo Wagner, who played well yesterday. But let's be real, Mo Wagner should now be getting the amount of minutes he's been getting so far. So I feel bad for Coach mostly because we're not really seeing the real Orlando Magic team just yet. We're still seeing kind of a learning on the fly, play whoever's healthy type of team. And that's not going to get it done, unfortunately, against NBA talent. So I'm kind of giving him a pass, to be honest. But what I will not give him a pass for, which we talked about briefly via text message the other night, is the ending to the Toronto Raptors games, the lack of timeouts or the way that he called those timeouts. I'm not sure if you were able to watch it. But yeah, man, there were some decisions there that were kind of questionable. But again, that to me goes back to him being a rookie coach and kind of learning on the fly. But he's got to learn quick because, again, I feel like if he would have used those timeouts better, the Magic could have probably won that game.
Yeah, from the usage of the timeouts to the rotations, and I think that again it's still early in the season that those will get all straightened out. Now, something that's been kind of noticeable that I'm a little disappointed by is kind of we're not seeing the same Terrence Ross that we're used to seeing. There was a report that came out a couple of days ago from Michael Scott of Hoops Hype that said that he'll be moved. In having conversations with other executives in the NBA. that it's going to happen. The Magic have attempted to do that previously during the offseason, during the trade deadline. They just weren't able to get a deal done. Could that be what's hampering Terrence Ross's performance as of late? Do you feel like that's just on his mind? Does he not like where is what seems to be a lack of engagement? Do you think is a reason for the poor performances?
And it's funny, you picked a perfect word to describe it. It's a lack of engagement, I feel, with Terrence Ross, which is weird. I feel like he was doing so well in preseason, kind of rallying the group and kind of being that vet. And I'm not sure what has changed, but outside of that Knicks game in the fourth quarter, when he dropped 20 points, he followed that up with no points in Miami. And then on top of that, he hasn't looked at himself. He's just not playing well. Let's be real. I love Terrence Ross. I've been a big fan of his since we traded for him back in 2017. But the reality is he doesn't look like himself right now. Could we blame the coach for it? I do see one thing. We're not seeing as many plays being called for Terrence Ross like last year. Like this guy used to come off the bench and he was firing 3-point shots, getting to the line. We're not seeing as many of those plays this time around. So Coach Clifford had a really good impact, I'm guessing, on Terrence Ross and trusted him a lot. I'm not sure if Mose feels the same way, or is he looking to just highlight the young players more and kind of telling Terrence, take a back seat, let's let the young guys kind of lead the way. But whatever it is, it's got to get fixed because there's two guys on this team right now, Gary Harris and Terrence Ross, which we expect to be moved at some point. But for right now, we're paying you guys a ton of money to be the vets, to be the leaders, to help the team out, not to be the reason why we lose games. And if you look at the plus and minuses right now, Terrence Ross and Gary Harris have been horrible. That can happen. Like the young guys can have nights off and can have games where they don't look like themselves, but not T. Ross and Gary Harris. Those guys need to be reliable. They're getting paid the kind of money that demands of them to be reliable. But also without them, there's no way the Magic can win games. Because again, the young guys will have their ups and downs.
Yeah, and the vet play is so important, especially with this young group. You saw that. Like even the game in Madison Square Garden, Terrence Ross came in that fourth quarter and completely took over. Like there was like the dude was playing out of his body. You not that you expect that level of play every single time, but you want someone that comes in that's able to calm the team, that's able to make sure that they're making the right play, that's vocal, that's kind of directing. Like we don't have that right now. And I think that, Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz, they're still young, but they're young vets, and we need everyone kind of pulling in the same direction. And I kind of feel like we haven't received that from Terrence Ross and Chuma Okeke. And Terrence Ross, he knows that he's the last player from the Hennigan regime. Like he knows that he's the remaining, the sole survivor. He knows that. And I'm sure that he knows that it's only a matter of time. But I just think that right now, it's these are crucial moments, man. Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner, they need the help and the support from the vets. I'm not saying that he's not receiving that from that, because we can only see what we see from the TV side. But man, this team needs his shooting badly, and I feel like it hasn't been there. And I think the body language is been off. And I think that when you listen to his post interviews, it's not the same, to the point that my man doesn't even look happy. Like, and I feel bad because Terrence Ross has been a fan favorite. He's impacted the organization in positive ways, and I just feel like it's if it's time, then man, we need to find this dude a new home ASAP, because there's teams that can really use what he's able to provide. We could really use what he's able to provide, but his heart's got to be in it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because even that game in New York, which was impressive, you won that game, you came back, and you're the reason why the team did that with 20 points in the fourth quarter. And like you mentioned, if you haven't watched it yet, Magic fans, go back and watch the press conference after the game. He wasn't the T. Ross of old. Like he was just answering questions, kind of whatever. Again, not a Terrence Ross-like post-game interview. It is what it is. I mean, like I said, it could be many things going on. I know he has some back issues in the offseason. He was dealing with that. So could that be a factor? I'm not sure. But if you're going to be a vet on this team, again, if you're not happy, then, voice it out. Maybe not demanding a trade, but go talk to the front office and be, hey, December 15th, trades can go down. Move me as soon as possible. And the front office will help you. But the way that you're playing right now, it's not going to help him. It's not helping the team. So I don't know, man. I don't like the body language part of it either. It's got to get fixed.
Yeah. So now in other news, City Editions, the new uniforms are coming out tomorrow. That's exciting, right? So we've kind of already seen a little bit of what it may or may not be. And the understanding that we have, if you haven't already seen it, is that there's going to be a majority of the color is going to be that charcoal gray. There's a specific name to it. Do you remember what that name is? I don't know.
It's like graphite gray or something.
Gray, something like that. Something like that. They're definitely going to bring back the orange pinstripes. And in the teaser video, they showed the orange old school Orlando Magic ball logo, the original logo, in orange. So I'm sure that they're going to incorporate some old school font from what it seems like. How excited are you for these new uniforms, and what do you think the response is going to be collectively?
Well, I think it's going to be probably the best City Edition jerseys we've done to date. Simply because the NBA is celebrating their 75th anniversary, so it's going to be some sort of throwback. And based on what we saw highlights of Penny and Shaq and Darrell Armstrong. So it's going to be a mix of eras. It's going to be the old school logo, maybe with something mixed in from the T-Mac days, but then the orange is going to be the modern thing that they're doing. So I'm excited. I mean, we've seen a couple of different mock-ups of what it may look like. The one that you're talking about, we've seen some shorts that may be the new shorts I'll be using, which has some stars going on, some orange stars. But like any Magic fan base out there, we're going to see a bunch of them that are going to like it and a bunch that are going to say, this is trash, bring the blue back. And we've actually said, me and you, we wish it was blue. Whatever they're doing, that it was blue. But I will say, I do expect this City Edition to be the best ones that we've had in recent years. So that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and hopefully this is the last season that they do the orange. We've talked off air about, we're hoping that the uniforms that they make for this season will end up matching the court, which I don't think that they will, just because last season we didn't make any adjustments to it. So I think that the season 1 of the orange uniforms, they're going to bring back that court, which in my opinion doesn't match. The people weren't even a big fan of the fonts. The Magic really tried to do the whole initials of Orlando ORL. We did that the first City edition uniforms in orange. We did that the second time around last season, but we added the star at the end. So hopefully they go away from that completely, because I was not a fan of that. Hopefully it's maybe just spell out the Magic, because we haven't done that yet. So that would be kind of different. It seemed as if Markelle Fultz really liked it. In part of the teaser, they had Markelle Fultz come into the room, which I again, just to add it in there, Magic social media team, they're doing such an amazing job, very entertaining. So the fact that they're giving us some of these bits and moments is amazing and awesome in itself. But Markelle Fultz said that the uniforms look saucy, so he really liked what he saw. So I'm excited to see what they end up coming out with for sure.
Yeah, and I think we're playing like 20 games with them this season, so we'll see them a lot. So again, the more reason why they need to be nice. And I'm hoping, again, the court matches, because like you said, the old design that we had for the courts in orange, again, the ORL, the gray with a weird orange that we used the first season, doesn't quite match to what we've seen so far. So I would think they're gonna change it up, and I'm expecting the center court logo to be what we saw in that trailer, that old school Magic logo in orange. That would be really, really nice if they make that happen. So we're about to find out. They come out tomorrow. That's what the social media team announced. November 1st is when they'll be revealed. So we're a few hours away from that becoming a thing that we know what it looks like, and we can start counting down till we see it on the court.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely keep on the lookout for that. Again, they should be announcing and revealing what those are going to look like tomorrow. Now we're going to answer some fan questions. We're going to go through our mailbag, but before we do that, I definitely want to take a moment just to shout out Josh Robbins. It was reported that he will be moving to Washington, D.C. to now cover the Washington Wizards and not the Orlando Magic. And I'll be honest with you, when I first received the notification, it kind of hurt my soul a little bit, just because, Josh Robbins, in my opinion, has been synonymous with the Orlando Magic. He's been covering the team for a very, very, very long time. And he did the job extremely well. And if there's one thing that I really liked about Josh Robbins is the fact that he wasn't afraid to ask, the questions that the fan base wanted. He not only interacted with the fan base really, really often, but he also made sure that he kept an ear to the ground and kind of influenced the media room in that aspect. What were your initial thoughts when you heard about it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a shocker, to be honest with you. I mean, he is the voice of Magic fans in a way in the media room. He likes to ask us directly on Twitter, what do you want to know? What do you want to talk about this week in the Q&A that I'm doing, whatever it may be. He always really made sure to get the fan base feedback kind of into the media room, into those questions that he asked. So he's going to be missed. One thing about Josh Robbins is we've witnessed it firsthand. He's asking 60-70% of the questions in post-game interviews. Whenever John and Jeff do a press conference, he's asking the majority of the questions. And not only that, he's the most involved media member out there, giving us the little details that we want to know. So I'm a little concerned about the fact that who's going to replace him in that role. Are they even going to replace him? The Athletic, I mean, do they want to hire somebody to just cover the Magic? Does it make sense right now with the way the team is playing and how many years away they are from contention, if you look at it that way? So again, I'm happy that he is doing it. He wrote a really, really nice letter explaining why he's doing it, the meaning to him personally. So if you haven't read that letter yet, go into The Athletic and read that. But again, happy for him that he's willing to live. He's able to live that lifelong dream of covering the Washington, D.C. teams. But he'll be big time missed in Orlando. I'll be following his work. But again, I'm a little concerned as to what that Magic coverage looks like now going forward.
Al, I better not see you walking around with a Bradley Beal jersey. Or a Kyle Kuzma jersey, depending on if Bradley Beal's still there.
Yeah, no, that won't happen.
All right, we're going to jump into our mailbag. So this first question comes from CL West 25 from Instagram, where he asked Franz or Chuma, who will be starting when both are healthy, Franz or Chuma?
What about both? Simply because I expect one of Wendell or Mo Bamba to be that backup center at some point, and Chuma and Franz to play together. Initially, I thought it might have been Franz if he played the way that we expected him to play. But with the way he's playing, like you mentioned earlier, man, you can't bench this guy right now. So I think to give the team a little more depth, a little more modern NBA players on the court as a starting lineup, I think you might see Chuma either start the 4 or the 3 and Franz at the opposite forward position. So I think you might see both pretty soon starting.
Yeah, if we're talking about Franz or Chuma healthy, then I can see them both starting. However, if we're talking about a fully healthy roster with Jonathan Isaac coming back, Jonathan Isaac is going to take that power forward spot. It sure. Just is that. Chuma Okeke is a very small power forward, which in today's NBA, there's no such thing as a small anything, right? I see Jonathan Isaac starting in that power forward, and I see Franz as the solidified small 3. Chuma Okeke is a 6'6" power forward that can do a lot of things. He can shoot. He still has a body. He can put the ball on the floor. But I really like how Franz is able to impact the game and is confident. And his mannerisms is again one of the big things that stand out to me. It's on offense, on defense. He's confident. He knows what he wants to do. He always makes the right pass. My issue with Chuma is that I feel like there's moments where he's timid. And granted, that was how his rookie season was early on, and we saw the best of Chuma Okeke. Chuma Okeke is a baller, and he's going to be a big part of what this team is and does in the future. I just really like what Franz is able to do. I think that he's a player that will make everyone better on both ends of the floor, and I think that having him be able to impact the game at 3. He's 6'10", 220 pounds. He's versatile to the point that you can put him in the 3 or 4. I just see Chuma more in that 4 spot than I do him playing the 3 spot.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if the question is once JI comes back and everything, then yeah, for sure JI is going to be starting at the four, at the power forward position. But again, we don't know when that will be just yet. But if we just look at Chuma and and Franz Wagner right now, I think the best option would be to start them both. I think it just makes the most sense. Um, and you still can give plenty of minutes to whoever, Mobamba or Wendell, whoever goes to the bench, they can get plenty of run at the five position. But I think from again, you think about it from a modern NBA, the way that I think coach mostly wants to play, shooting threes, spacing the court, I think it makes sense. Chuma and Franz defensively are going to be amazing. They're just awesome on that end. Add to that Jalen Suggs too. It's going to be fun to watch. So I think that's what we may see at some point. I just don't know if it's going to be starting tomorrow against Minnesota, or if it will be maybe in a few weeks once Chuma it's more up to speed on things.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. All right. This next one comes from Chris Caruana. Hopefully I said that right. What are your feelings on Mo Bamba since his playing time has increased?
If you're a Magic fan and you're telling me otherwise, by that I mean that you're either not happy with the way Mo has played, or that you're disappointed, then you're probably lying to yourself. I got his stats right now in front of me. Mo Bamba averaging 13.1 points a game, shooting 48.8% from 3-point range, 53% from the field, 9 rebounds a game, close to 2 blocks a game. What else can you expect from Mo Bamba, man? I think he's doing an amazing job with the role that he's playing. Again, 7 games into this new role of getting a lot of minutes. This guy has not seen the court that much the past 2 to 3 years. I think he's doing an amazing job. Are there moments where he looks kind of disengaged and the body language might not seem like it's all there? It happens here and there. But from the guy that we saw years past, Mo Bamba is a completely different player. And the numbers that he's putting are equally as good as Wendell Carter, if not better. So, in my opinion, he's doing amazing. Tough choice with what to do between him and Wendell, to be honest.
Yeah, Mo Bamba is leading, is top 3 in just about every category for our roster, from points to rebounds to field goal percentage to assists to to blocks. This dude is impacting the game more than he's ever done before. You can credit a lot of that to the offseason that he had, health, no longer dealing with the whole COVID situation, no longer dealing with the whole Steve Clifford situation. You can credit a lot of that to those aspects. But I really like what Mo Bamba is able to do, because he has tangibles that you can't teach, that you can't give to just anyone. He does certain things that Wendell Carter cannot do. He's really long, man. If you watch him play, there's certain moments in the game where he grabs a rebound and there was literally no chance for no one else like to contest that from Mo Bamba, because he's tall, he's long, and I kind of feel like he's a little more aggressive than I'm used to seeing. Mm-hmm. And I think that from that aspect, I really like what we're getting from Mo Bamba. Like, I really, really do. And I think that it's something that is well needed, because I enjoy watching Mo Bamba and Wendell Carter in the game together. I feel like they should be a little more empowering. Like, I feel like there's no reason why we should lose any defensive contest, like, at all, with those two on the floor. Like, there's moments where I saw offensive rebounds that we were losing. Like, I feel Mo Bamba has the right tools, and I would like to see more of that. But I think that in comparison to any other season, this is definitely an NBA player that is really impacting NBA games at an extremely high level, and it's welcoming to see, for sure.
Yeah, and one more thing too that I just started looking at here is when you look at net rating, right? So the positive or negative impact that he's having on the court. Historically, Mo Bamba has had a negative impact, right? Like, he was lazy, he wasn't boxing out, he was going just chasing blocks. This season, right now, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Mo Bamba is the 4th on the team when it comes to net rating at negative 2.7. It's telling you, having Mo Bamba out there, it's not hurting the team. It's actually helping. It's actually helping us maintain leads. That wasn't always the case when you look at Mo Bamba the last 3 years. So from that perspective, the stats are there, but also the results are helping the team. So again, you got to be really, really excited about what Mo Bamba's doing. And again, remember, 7 games into it. This kid, I think, by the time that March comes around April, towards the end of the season, he'll be a totally different player, a lot more confident, a lot more aggressive, assertive. So I think we'll see a much better Mo Bamba as we go along. But I've been impressed. Just again, in 7 games, he's looked this good.
Couldn't agree more. All right, this next one comes from Kareem_B. That asks, at what point in the season do you think Jalen Suggs will start to get in his groove?
Ooh, that's a good question. I say give him about 20 to 25 games. So we're about 1/3 of the way there. Man, like I said earlier, the Magic have a brutal schedule. If you haven't looked at it yet, go back and look at it. The toughest schedule in the NBA to start a new season. Not only the number of back-to-back games that we have, not only the opponents that we're playing, but we're throwing a lot at these young guys. And don't forget, we have the youngest starting lineup in league history. So there's a lot of things going against us right now. Health. We have a ton of guys that were supposed to be veterans not playing. You have, again, J.I., Markel, MCW, T. Ross, and Gary Harris not playing well. So once those guys are incorporated, once they're helping, it's going to force the defense to pay attention to those guys, which will open up the floor for Jalen Suggs to do more things. Right now, the game plan is this kid came out of college, supposed to be a really good player. We're going to lock in on him. And you're seeing it. Teams are double teaming him when he goes to the basket. They're really following him hard. They're focusing on him on the offensive end, and that's hurting him. So give him some time. Let's see this team healthy. The real answer to me is let's look at it back in February, March, and see what he looks like. He'll be 10 times better. But realistically, give him about 20 more games, and he should be fine.
Yeah, just to put it in perspective, our next 10 games against the Celtics, Spurs, Jazz, Nets, Wizards, Hawks, Knicks, Brooklyn, Bucks. So I think that it's a good opportunity. Yeah, the competition is going to skyrocket right now. And the fact that he's going to get that really good experience, I think, because in my opinion, he's one game away from turning it all around. It's you need that experience so that the game can kind of slow down for you. Cole Anthony in the very beginning, he was struggling. When Markel went down, he was a primary point guard. He was struggling in the beginning. People were like, this dude isn't ready yet, and we're kind of throwing him to the wolves. I feel like, with Jalen Suggs, it's we threw him as a starter early on into the season, and things are completely different than they were in Gonzaga. Gonzaga was a really good team. Now you're asking him to have great performances on a day in, day night out basis, and the Orlando Magic aren't that great in terms of overall performances. So I think that there's a transition period that needs to happen, that is happening, and I think that eventually we'll get there. He's already broke out with his 21 points a game, his career high. I think that we're gonna start to see that more. Now, my question to you, Al, is: do you see him eventually hitting that 30-point per game mark this season?
30-point per game, or just like a 30-point game?
30-point game.
Okay, I was gonna say, wait, that's
if it's one game, then it would be 30 points per that game.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely. Again, you think of Jalen Suggs just having one of those nights where the ball is going in, and that's it, man. This kid can do it. He has the confidence. He has the aggressiveness. He can definitely get it done. He just needs things to go his way for once. Get some calls, some threes to go down, and to some of those finishes at the rim that he keeps missing, they'll go down eventually. You said it perfectly. Cole Anthony last season, 7 games into it, actually 7 games after Markel went down. If you compare what he looked like to what Jalen Suggs is looking like right now, it looks very similar. A ton of turnovers, not shooting the ball well, lack of confidence. It happens, man. It's normal. It takes a little while for you to kind of just slow down, take a deep breath. I'm an NBA player now. I can get this done. So remain patient, but I can definitely see him dropping 30 any given night, to be honest.
I think that it's only a matter of time, and I think that he's in a good position where he has the opportunity to do that. Again, once those shots start, actually going in, then you start to see his stats look a little bit better. Once he starts protecting the ball a little bit more, stats are going to get a little bit better. And I think that you're going to get with that with time. The great thing is that this season isn't nowhere near as condensed as it was last season. Last season, the schedule was was a mess. Here you actually have the opportunity where, there's development that can go into play during, the off days where they're not playing a game. And I think that a lot of that confidence, a lot of that learning curve is going to occur during practice. This week we have the Magic going against the Minnesota Timberwolves on Monday, and then Wednesday we're taking on the Boston Celtics. What are your thoughts and predictions on those games?
Man, so the week ahead, if you don't beat Minnesota, again, you already kind of gave us a schedule the next 10 games. It's going to get ugly. So if you don't beat Minnesota tomorrow or some way, somehow bounce back and surprise Boston at home, it's going to be tough. Even though we play a lot of games at home coming up, again, in my opinion, Minnesota is the one that we win, if anything. I can't see us beating Boston unless they have a bunch of injuries going on, which I know they've had some guys miss games. But if they're healthy, I don't see us winning that game. So I'm hoping 1-1, because after that, I don't see a win until probably the end of November.
Yeah, I think Minnesota is going to be a tough matchup, especially with Karl Anthony Towns, and they've been, playing decent. Boston, any chance that you can go against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they've been playing really good. But I think that's just added experience for our guys. I want to see how Franz Wagner does against Jason Tatum. I want to see that matchup. So that for sure is going to be exciting. Let's wrap this up. Al, final thoughts.
Final thought for this week's a question to you, actually. Jonathan Isaac came out and sent a little cryptic tweet this week saying, "I cannot wait to get back." Let me ask you this. Does that mean anything to you? Does that mean that he may be closer than we think?
No.
Or that's just him sending a random tweet when he's bored?
That's just him sending a random tweet moving forward. I don't.
You got no faith in him coming back anytime soon, huh?
You know what it is also, and I had talked about this with someone else recently, is I think that the Magic are kind of rolling this out more strategically, more so than anything. Because you had Chuma Kiki that was out, Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz. I think it would be too much of a disruption to have a report that comes out and says, all right, Chuma, Markelle, Jonathan Isaac, you guys are activated. Good to go. Go play ball. I think that would disrupt too much of the flow that they're trying to create, the process that they're trying to create, the minutes, rotations. Like, the coach is still trying to figure all that out. I think that would be too much all in one. I think that they're going to roll this out in phases. I think that Chuma Kiki was the first step. You're bringing him back, roll him back out, get him comfortable with the rotation, because from reports that we've heard or videos that we've seen, it looks like Markelle and Jonathan Isaac are ready to go. It looks that way. But again, I personally don't think it would be a great idea just to have them all activated, unless they were all activated after training camp and you kind of roll out that way. But now you have an expectation with Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, and Franz. Now you have a actual starting lineup that they've been playing together to start the game. They haven't played a whole lot of minutes together, which is ironic, but you have an expectation of that. I think that once you have Chuma was the first domino to fall. I think Markelle will be next. I think once Markelle gets put back into the fold and they get accustomed to because Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac, they're polarizing players. I think you put Markelle into the game and it changes the whole entire way that the Orlando Magic play. I think that it's the exact same thing with Jonathan Isaac. You put Jonathan Isaac in and it changes the way that we play. You put them both in, we have a completely different basketball team.
Yep.
We have a way more skillful team, a way more defensive team, or we're bigger, we're longer. And I think that, the first things first is to bringing in Chuma in, and then the dominoes will fall.
So I'll tell you what, my crazy.
I think that was not cryptic. I think that was just a tweet that he's just ready to play basketball.
So I'll tell you what, I think in my opinion on this is, I think they come out in phases. And by phases, I mean each month means something to the Magic. November, in my opinion, will be the Jonathan Isaac month.
You think November's Jonathan Isaac month?
I think so.
No, there's no
Now,
way.
I'm not saying early November. It could be the 30th, but it's going to be November.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that every month will mean something. And I think that's an interesting way or a simplistic way to look at it. I think, however, November is going to be Markelle month. We've already heard from Jonathan Isaac where he said, he already feel if it's his choice to play now, and then December would be more realistic for him. So that's why I think that he'll be back more December. And I feel like Jonathan Isaac is more of the prized possession, like for the Orlando Magic. He's the person that 100%. There's one thing that he's elite at. He's elite defensively. And Markelle Fultz doesn't have like that elite thing that he does well. I think it would just make sense for Chuma, Markelle, and then Jonathan Isaac. But I agree with you. I think it might be more of a to-do list on the month of November. Activate Markelle Fultz. Month of October, bring back Chuma Okeke.
But I think either way, it's exciting just to know that we have those guys coming back. We're getting closer and closer. I know J.I. said in that podcast that he did recently that Christmas Day, kind of a day that he realistically believes that he'll be back on the court by then. I mean, it seems like it's far away, man, but it's a month and a half. So the key word for the season for me is patience. Trust me, I'm watching these games and I'm trying to get mad, but then I'm like, I take a deep breath and I say, realize this is not a year we want to make the playoffs. It's not a year where we're going to be contending to do anything meaningful. Relax, enjoy the games, and just watch the games. And I keep saying that to myself because otherwise I'm going to be pissed 24/7.
Yeah, it's not about the wins and losses. It's about developing the players. My only ask is me personally, because you have a lot of people out there that they are already looking at the NBA draft. They're already looking at the top prospects in this upcoming, college season. And me, I'm not looking that far out. Like I'll worry about that more after like the trade deadline. Like that's when I'll worry about that side. I'm not focused on that. All I want the Orlando Magic to do, because it makes sense. Like we beat the New York Knicks. And after we beat the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden to a really good New York Knicks team, we gave them their first loss. And then we get a report that says Julius Randle felt sick afterwards.
Yep.
They didn't feel well. Like it sounded like we kicked the kid's butt and he went over to the corner and cried himself to sleep. Like that's what it felt like. And that's one thing that I want the Magic to do. I want nobody to take us serious right now. I want everyone to think that they're having an easy game, that they're going to be able to blow past by us, and then they play against us, and it's not what they were expecting. I want the Magic to be disruptors. I want people to not take us serious, and then we end up, demanding our respect from these people that are overlooking us. And I think that with this young team, that's really all that you can ask for. If you're already on the tanking side, or you want the Magic to win every single game and criticize the team for not winning games, I think you have to look at it as you just want this team to play good. There's no such thing. I don't believe in moral victories, but I do believe in going out there and playing hard and have a little bit of that heart and hustle that I think is really important. We talk about building cultures. I know the front office, they don't like using the word culture, but it's a thing. It's a thing. It's their culture is expectations, is saying that if you're going to play for this team, this is how we run things. And you need to be able to have this level of attitude, this level of optimism, this level of effort. And then you're able to become this. It's I hope the Magic create that type of identity. The Memphis Grizzlies, they were the whole grit and grind thing. You hear about the Heat culture and their list of things that they got to do, right? I want the Magic to have some of that. And if we can be young and disruptive, I think those are good elements to start this phase, this era of Orlando Magic basketball.
I like it, man. Not a better way to close it out. I think that's a perfect way to end this episode. And again, just keep remembering, Magic fans, us. Again, we talk about this team all day long, every day. Patience, man. I keep saying this, and just be patient, because again, it's going to be a tough year. But look at the positives. What can you take out of a game that we lost by 20? That was a positive. That game against the Raptors, we lost by 1. What positive came out of that? Jalen Suggs played really well. We're 1-6. What has been positive? Franz Wagner is playing really, really well. So keep thinking of the positives. And like you mentioned, don't be looking at the standings already thinking we're going to win the lottery. We saw what happened last year. We had the third best odds to win the lottery. Guarantees. We dropped to 5th. Doesn't matter how we finish the season, man. The lottery is a whole different monster. We'll deal with that in March, April, May. Right now, enjoy this team. Look forward to every game. Support the team. but most importantly, be patient, because again, it's not going to be perfect every night. But we are fans. We have to stand by this team and again, think positive, because otherwise, by December, we're going to be ready for the draft.
Yep. I will say that the Rockets and the Pistons had the worst record and also really bad records in the NBA, and they ended up getting the top picks. But that's neither here or there. That's a wrap, man. Thank you guys for listening. Till next week.
Thank you for listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Magic fans. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the OZone Pod. And remember to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.